Hi, I'm Jim with Pour the Juice, and in today's video, I want to talk about what I do when I have a bottle that's getting a little bit too low. Um, this one, it may not be too low, there's still quite a bit in there, but it's been sitting like this for quite a while. I don't really break into this specific Woodford Double Oak all that often. I have a lot of other whiskey that I like to try, I like to go back and forth with. I don't typically laser focus on a bottle unless I'm trying to get rid of it. And I've seen a lot of things online about what people do near the end of the bottle if the whiskey's going to go bad, um, how to combat that, and there's a lot of answers. One note that I just want to get out there to you: oxygen and whiskey not good. So if you use a little CO2 spray inside the bottle after you use it, that'll keep it good longer. Um, Obviously, when a bottle starts getting this much oxygen in it compared to the whiskey, oxidation is going to happen a little bit quicker. If you're opening and closing this bottle more and more and more, that's going to happen. But from my personal experience, I haven't seen anything too drastic in the bottles that I have. Most of my bottles are still fairly full. What I typically do is I'll drink some, I'll put it away, and by some I mean I'll have a pour or two. If I'm trying it for a video, I'll likely have half a pour. Um, if I'm sharing it with friends, that bottle doesn't survive very long. But just me, um, I'm typically somebody who likes to try a bunch of different things. If I'm really having a few that night, I'll have a few different whiskeys as opposed to a few pours of the same thing. Um, but let me go back to the premise. What do I do when it does get like this? My number one answer is going to be the one that I already kind of mentioned and that most people probably can guess, and that's drink it. That's what I've always done in the past. Whiskey bottle gets low. I pour a couple that night. I pour a couple the next night, and that bottle's no more. Or I'll share it with friends, share it with my wife, who happens to love this bottle. So that's one way to go about it. And you know, for argument's sake, we'll pour some tonight. And already, lowered it quite a bit more. One solid pour. So that's one way to go about it. Another way, if this was, you know, a bottle that I absolutely adored, something extremely difficult to get, something highly valuable, and I started getting low, I would be more concerned about that whiskey height because of that bottle. If this was a George T. Stagg, obviously the George T. Stagg bottle doesn't look like this, but if it was a George T. Stagg and I got below that quarter mark in the bottle, I would start thinking, I really need to do something here. And one of the things that you could do is you could buy these little bottles and fill them up with what you have left. If this is a George T. Stagg, maybe I get, 3 or 4 of these and I fill them all up with what's left of it. And then I have those, and I don't have to worry about them oxidizing because they're in these little bottles instead. So just downsize a bit. And then I think it is probably the best way to go about it with a nicer bottle, a more valuable bottle, one that you want to keep around for longer and not have go bad. That's a step that I'm going to take for some of my more valuable bottles, more sentimental bottles, just so they last a little bit longer. And then the last option that I have for you, off the top of my head, um, would be to pour this in an infinity bottle. I guess it's not off the top of my head because that's what my plan is. I wanted to pour a little bit for tonight, and then I'm probably going to take the rest of this, or maybe not the rest, but I'll probably have a little bit more out of it tonight. And then I'll pour this into my infinity bottle. And I do want to give a warning here. Um, my infinity bottle has a decent amount of Buffalo Trace products. It's honestly my infinity bottle from making these videos. I don't finish every dram of whiskey that I pour. Um, especially when some of those big blinds, I'm doing all these stags next to each other, other foolproof whiskeys. I don't just drink all those in total after every recording. Usually, if it's something that I think will pair well with what's already in my infinity bottle, I'll just pour those in. So my infinity bottle right now has quite a few stag pours in it. It has some Buffalo Trace. It does have some Elijah Craig in it. It has some rye. I believe it has some of the Alberta Premium that I had poured in one of my videos, one of my blinds. It has some Tommy's H Handy, I believe, in it. And knowing that, I think this Woodford Double Oak would be a great addition to it. If this was an Islay Scotch, I wouldn't be pouring it in there just because I feel like it wouldn't match well with the whiskey that's already in my infinity bottle. But a little double oak, super sweetness. Sometimes people say pancake syrupy or butterscotch notes. Those I think will really pair well with the fruitier notes of most of the Buffalo Trace products that are in there, or even some of the rye that's already in that bottle. So I have no qualms about doing that. But it's something to keep in mind. And, you don't want to just pour anything into an infinity bottle, or maybe you do. To each their own. I don't. I don't want to pour anything into an infinity bottle. I don't want an Islay Scotch mixed up with my Buffalo Trace products because I probably won't want to drink it afterwards, and I could have just had them separate and enjoyed both of them separately. But that's where I'm going to end the video. If you have any ideas, let me know what you do when you get to the end of the bottle. My guess is most of you drink with friends, drink it with family. That's usually what I prefer to do as well. But if it's something like this one that's just been hanging around too long, what do you do? Please let me know in the comments. And also, please like the video. Please subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Cheers.